Everyone. I am Surbhi Kumari and I am a web dev lead at GDSC TECB. So, as engineers, we know that internships are a very important part of our lives. And in this session, we are actually going to talk about one such internship, which is a fusion of both learning and earning, I should say. So I'm sure everyone is excited about this, but before that, it's very important to acknowledge the ones without whom this session wouldn't have been possible. Our amazing collaborators, GDSC IIEST Shipur, GDSC Sister Nivedita University, GDSC IIIT Kalyani, GDSC Jalpai Government Engineering College, GDSC Bajbaj Institute of Technology, and GDSC Meghnad Saha Institute of Technology. So I'm sure by now your minds must have been filled by zillions of questions, but why not? Our speaker is here to answer all of them. Nitya is a former intern at Outreach. So Nitya, before we start with our session, could you please tell us a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, hey everyone, I'm Nitya Vasriza, and currently I'm the open source lead at GDSC IGDTU and an upcoming intern at Microsoft 2024. So, I guess that sums it up. And without further ado, let's all start. So, I can see quite a bit view here. Do we have a chat section here? Yes, we do. Okay, so I've opened this up and let's make it very interactive. And in case you have any doubts or anything, you can just raise your hands or type it in the chat section and we'll just have a great talk. Yeah.
Okay, so
So,
I'm sure. Okay, so I'm sure your profile speaks for your excellence. Thank you for joining us. So let's start with our session. So the first question that everyone here before joining must have thought is, what is an outreach internship?
okay, so basically it's Outreachy, and Outreachy is basically an open source collaborated internship where people from across the world apply and they have about very it's a very great application process because they filter out people not on basis of the skills but also on basis of the backgrounds as well, right? So let's say you are a beginner in the open source world, right? So you really do not know the first steps to take and how exactly the world would go around if you pick up the space. So what Outreach does is to bridge the gap between the two worlds. So as a beginner, you are clearly unaware of various practices that GitHub or various open source organizations do, right? So there is the basic use of Git, and there is, let's say, a project needs basis of CSS and JavaScript and HTML, but as a beginner, people might not know this. So as an outreachy intern, people do not expect you to be an expert at everything, but rather a beginner who's eager to contribute and willing to work towards expertise or, let's say, collaboration. So Outreachy is that bridge that connects you with that world. And the best part is that it's not just an internship, but rather I would say it's an experience because you get to collaborate with people around the world, and it's you get to experience the whole vibe of, people are in different timelines in the same project and you are collaborating with them. So maybe you would be waking up early sometimes, maybe you'll find a middle way, maybe you'll be awake at night. So but no one would be pressurizing you to do anything. It would be completely a self-paced internship where people would urge you to ask the questions and collaborate well.
Okay, so I'm sure this is an amazing opportunity and more, I should say more like a more inclusive opportunity because everyone
Exactly.
can communicate with each other. Okay, so how did you get to know about this opportunity?
Okay, so basically, we have seniors in our college who have, completed this internship, and I was quite intrigued by this because um, starting off as a first year kid, we had a quite high-paced college life because due to Corona, we had to skip a few months back. So we were pacing around. We did not have a summer internship, and then we see our seniors who have a summer internship and they had the whole thing going around that. They are contributing to open source, but not just open source. They were contributing to organizations and basically a startup level kind of places in the very initial stage of their life in college. So it was quite enthusiastic to see that. Also, they were having great networking skills, and of course, there were perks like the internship amount that time was around I guess 5,000 USD. So seeing someone in second year get into hackathons and all that, so it was really insightful, and yeah, so that's how we got to know about that.
Okay. So now that you have shed some light on it, I'm sure everyone is more than excited to get to know about it more. So, is there any eligibility criteria for individuals to contribute to this Outreachy internship? And if so, could you please provide us some details like who is eligible and how can one get inclusive in it?
Absolutely, Surabhi. So the thing is, there is the eligibility criteria that outreaching mostly caters to people who have not been paid before in the open source world. So let's say you have been a part of, let's say, LFX or GSOC, maybe MLH fellowship or XROS fellowship. I mean, there are a lot of them. But have you been paid before for for an open source organization or an open source work? That is the question you have to ask yourself before applying, because Outreach is basically urging people into that open source domain. If you have already been paid for that before, you're not eligible anymore. The second eligibility is it is majorly focusing towards people who are underrepresented. So it's majorly women, the LGBTQ community, people who are like from the backward classes, and in general, people of like people who have been discriminated against, like kind of that arena.
So,
And of
if
course, yeah, there's one more that Outreachy basically has two cohorts. So there's like a winter cohort and there's a summer cohort. Okay, so basically the Indian time zone adheres to the summer cohort. So applying to this one would be beneficial because the winter cohort is basically for those people who are in desperate need of an internship, winter internship. So people who have passed out from college and do not have any placements and are looking for an experience, they can apply to the winter cohort. But they would mostly not prefer Indians at that time because it's a hemisphere thing. So they would be catering to the other hemisphere at that time. But right now is the like eligibility is open for Indians. So yeah.
so now coming to the most important question regarding this session, like how to apply and what is the application process of Outreachy?
Okay. So basically, you'll have to log into the Outreachy portal as well for this. So www.outreachy.organization.org rather is the website you have to go to and check the eligibility once again. And the application process is quite a breeze really, because it's majorly asking you, have you been paid for open source before? What are your citizenship? Does your visa or anything hamper your process here? Can you like devote 30 to 40 hours a week? I mean, it all depends on that. And then we have the important part, which is the questionnaires. All right. So we get four essay questions, which you have to adhere to, and just write about your experience rather than given a few random facts. So I'll give you an example for that. So basically, one of the essay questions would be like, let's say, what were your learning outcomes, or what were your like. I'm not giving you the exact essay question, but similar to that would be, how did you go around learning this, and did your learning environment have people like you, and how exactly are you going on about that? So basically, the tip I would give you would be to not write about uh, something that ChatGPT recommends, because I have been reviewing quite a lot of essays recently, and I've seen that people tend to go towards ChatGPT now that it's available. But I strongly recommend do not do that, because at one point ChatGPT answers are quite easily catchable. Also, people go towards stats because the answer questionnaire does say that do mention a few stats, but do not go overboard with writing all the stats in the world. Write a few. I wouldn't say no to that, but write a few stats. Let's say your class had about a 1 to 5 ratio of women to boys or something like that, but do not go overboard with that. That this is the ratio here, this is the ratio in India, this is the ratio in world. Do not go overboard detail with that. People at Outreachy are trying to look for ways to understand how you are being affected, or how you are being someone who really should be accepted into this domain of a internship. So you can go around with personal experiences, and always I would recommend to have a light spirit at the end of it, because you do not want to feel too down, because they're looking for people who would be like, not really in a way that okay, this is all bad. You have to look at the positive aspects as well to some extent.
Okay, so I'm sure everyone is ready with their quills and paper. So do follow these tips if you want to see that you are selected email in your inboxes, everyone. So, as a former intern, do you want to say something about like what did you consider important while writing your application? Like, is there any point which you thought that might give you a little advantage over others? I'm sure, like you might have thought of something. So, could you please tell us a bit about that as
Yeah.
well?
So basically, while writing the outreachy essays, the thing was our seniors did recommend getting our proposals and essays reviewed before we submit them. So I was writing down the essays, reviewing them by myself, and then giving it giving it to my seniors to take a look and see what they recommend back to me. So that was really helpful, because sometimes you wouldn't even know that there are slight grammar errors. Sometimes you're just rambling on about stats. So these were the tips that really helped me shape up my essays. And also, there is a Grammarly extension that you can follow around. And other than that, there is a Quillbot, right? So sometimes you have to adhere to their characteristics. I mean, not sometimes, you just have to. So there's 1,000 character limit, okay? So, and even if you do a enter, so there are two paragraphs now. So even that would count as a character. So you have to be very precise with it all. So I recommend using Quillbot, because sometimes you're just writing a random answer, but if you want some of the words replaced, either use Grammarly or use Quillbot, and they'll change it a bit so that the word limit is completed.
So do follow these tips while you write your application, everyone. So now that we have talked about all the what's and how's, now let us move on to the whys. So why should one apply to Outreachy internship? Like, what are the benefits of contributing to Outreachy and getting the internship?
Yeah, so basically, as I said, Outreachy is more than just an internship. It's rather an experience, and I have really witnessed it a lot, because luckily enough, I was even part of the 1,000 intern events of there, because in our cohort they completed their 1,000 interns, and we had a huge celebration. And I've really had a lot of friends connecting me. And other than that, outreach is more about empowering you. All right. So the organization I interned with was actually someone who were not only applying for Outreachy as an organization, but also with GSOC. So now I have contacts with people who got into GSOC, and even Outreachy fellows in my college. So this is a very great networking experience in itself, and you get to see what other people are doing. And the organization was a US based one, so we had different timelines, and the mentors, they were pretty perfect, and they were really adhering to our timelines, and there was not a strict gap that okay, this is my summer break going on right now and the outreach organization internship going on at the same time. It wasn't really clashing with my schedules that I can't do anything else, right? So I did prepare a little bit for my Microsoft internships, DSA, and they let me do that. And it wasn't a hectic schedule. you can't, they wouldn't really pinpoint you at every stage that you haven't done this, you haven't done that. They just let you know that, okay, this is the week's timeline, this is the required details and the required deliverables that you have to be completed by the end of it. So they wouldn't be blaming you if you're working at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. It's totally up to your schedules. And these were one of the perks because we even had bi-weekly calls there, right? So I have not only had these calls for work, but I've also interacted a lot. So I have quite a few friends in that organization as well now. And other than that, of course, the USD internship, the perk was 7,000 USD now, because previously it was 5,000 and now it was 7,000. So that's also a part.
So I guess if there are students from first and second year, they should also know that networking is a very important part of our lives as
Absolutely.
engineers. So do apply for it if you also want to connect with people around the world. Okay, so now that I talk about first and second years, or more like the freshers who are just starting with their college, so they're not very familiar with many technologies as of now. So is Outreachy internship beginner friendly? Like, can they apply for it? Like, will they get selected or everything? Could you please tell us a bit about that as well?
Actually, I applied for Outreachy in my second year only, and I did get selected for that. So the step is to, once you complete the initial application stage, they will open up the complete portal where the projects are listed out. So every project has listed out the level of expertise they would require for someone to collaborate or contribute there in a project. So let's say there was MBO lab, there was HTM, and there was other quite a few, and they all listed out that if it's something related to LLMs, right? So they would write down that we need C++ people, and we can have, like, let's say from a scale of 1 to 5, we would recommend people having an expertise of 3, let's say, for C++. So 3 is like intermediate stage, 1 is like a complete beginner. So there were projects which recommended that people should have like basics of Git and GitHub on a scale of 1. And there are a lot of technical writing documentation internships available as well. So those projects really recommended people knowing, let's say, Google Docs, Excel spreadsheets, something like that. I'm not exactly sure because I wasn't uh, going towards that. But as a beginner, people can do this.
It is indeed a great opportunity to learn and broaden one's horizon in the various fields of technology. So, moving on with the session, what to do after your initial application is accepted? Like, what should we do after that? Should we select organization? And if so, what are the things we should keep in mind while doing that, like as a complete beginner?
Okay. So once your initial application gets selected, as I mentioned, a portal would open up for you guys, and you can really just look at the complete organization list. And I mean, people just start contributing on day one, but I would suggest otherwise. I would suggest that take 2, 3 days to, just go through a lot of them, visit their GitHub, visit their Slack channels. Slack channels are majorly found in the READMEs, or you can join in their mailing list and, just get a sense of how the community is in the beginning stage. And if you're, someone who is inclining towards one or the few of them, then I would recommend going to them and contributing, because oftentimes people just go around contributing and then they just lose interest. So instead of that, I would recommend going and looking to each of the projects there and getting a sense of the community, talking to a few people here and there, getting the project set up, and then realizing if this is the one for you or not. Also, you will get around 30 days to contribute and for the contribution period, and make the best of it, because at the end of this period, you'll have to give um, 2 proposals. Like, the max would be 2. So what you can do is, let's say there's an organization one which is having two projects, project A and project B, and there's a organization two which has, let's say, three projects, projects A, B, and C. So at the end of the day, at the end of the contribution period, you can only submit two proposals, which does not mean applying to two organizations. It rather means applying to two projects. So for organization one, you can have organization one's project B and organization one's project A. These can be your two proposals. Your two proposals can also be organization one's project A, but organization two's project A, and of course organization two's project A and C. But you cannot have more than two proposals in your entire journey. So I would really recommend really scrutinizing which project you want to go for, and getting also getting your proposals reviewed by mentors there would help immensely as well.
Okay, so everyone do choose your projects wisely. Okay, so since Outreachy is such a big name, it is a global name, so I'm sure the contribution is cutthroat as well. So, how is the contribution phase? Like, how should one contribute to increase their chances of getting the internship? And, like, what are the things to keep in mind while contributing?
Okay, so one thing I would recommend is that once you're through with the whole 2 3 days of just searching through organizations and projects that you relate with, you'll have a better understanding of the entire project and the people that there are in that organization or space. So what I would recommend doing next is contributing quality PRs instead of quantity PRs. So I wouldn't recommend spamming the complete issues and PRs with, just a few spelling mistakes and grammatical errors. Rather, try to go for, take up good first issues. You can take up something that is related to backend or maybe front end, whichever the domain is, but do not go for very specific that okay, this is the line here and it's a grammar mistake, so I filled it up and changed it, and then the other issue would be saying that okay, this was a mistake and now I'm creating this one to resolve it, and now this is the one who is resolving that one. Please do not do that, because mentors will get a lot of PRs there, and if they see people doing that, it would really not push themselves towards you. Also, there would be competition, so please be courteous and do not just say that okay, this is the issue, I'm working on it and I'll do it. No, don't have that attitude. Have the collaborative spirit there, because it is getting people to the open source world rather than just getting a few people into that. Okay, so I would even recommend that if you like an organization very much in that phase and you do not get selected, if you still want to, you can just keep contributing there, and maybe in the next cohort you'll get a chance to do that.
So, since you talked about collaborative space, so the next question that arises is that, like, apart from making our presence through contributions, should we also uh, make our presence in the discussion sections, or should we be active in all this discussion before the collaboration starts, or before the contribution starts, or even after that?
Um, that would I guess that would really help you guys with GSOC, but without Reachy, they specify that all the contributions and the build up that there is should be based on that 1 month. So if you do that before that, that's like great, but it wouldn't really count towards your contribution phase. So I would suggest keeping up your presence good in the Slack channels would be great, but doing that before or after wouldn't really contribute significantly to your contribution phase. So I do recommend helping out the other people around there. If you have the project set up in your in your PC, do help out the others as well, because that would really give you a few brownie points here and there. But yeah.
Okay, so now that the contribution phase is over and everyone has given their best, like, what else should we they keep in mind while putting together their proposals? Like, you talked about proposals, so how should one really uh, like how should one really make sure that their proposal get accepted?
Okay, so this is actually a good one. The thing is, when people give their contributions and when they submit their proposals, they're completely a different story. So, what I suggest is whenever you create a PR which gets merged, or let's say an issue that is really insightful towards it, I suggest that you just copy the link and add it to a Google Doc, so that when you're creating your proposal later on, you have something to write about, right? You can just say that this is the issue I took up, this is the PR I created for this, and this is how it got resolved. Also, you can take up like a significant issue there, right? That would really help. I would recommend having at least, if you can, 5 to 6 PRs, which are like good quality PRs. And in the proposals, do write down the timeline. The timeline is something that is very crucial to any project there, because let's say you have to fix up a workflow domain. So you have to give a timeline that, okay, the first week of internship, I would just, go through the entire different tech stacks and try to learn more about the frameworks. And then by the second week of internship, I would look for the GitHub references and have a dummy workflow ready by the week 2. Week 3 we would implement it. Week 4 we would maybe improvise on it, and so on. Giving a timeline would really help the mentor see that you are dedicated towards that and you are trying to formulate a plan to fix that issue.
Okay, so now that we are heading towards the end of this session, if anyone actually has some question, because I can see a few questions in the chat box as well. So if you have any questions that you want to ask to Nitya, please unmute yourself and ask. And if you can also use the chat box and drop your questions there.
I think it's already there. You can ask that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so first question is, what about the men belonging to general? Yeah, Riddle, I'm really not sure if this works out. Um, I mean, you can apply to it if you feel that you have been. I guess it opens up for people who are from men in general if you're not placed somewhere at the end of your internship. So I guess that phase can be the one where you can apply. But I'm not really sure about this one, so I wouldn't
Okay, so
recommend FA.
the next question is, how many days internship program is this? Okay.
Okay, so this is basically for 3 months, but the thing is, I have had contact with other outreachy people as well. So it's open to you and your mentor's timelines. So let's say you have exams at that time. So you can just tell your mentors that, okay, I have exams at this time, so can we extend it? So the program can be extended. Also, if you complete your project's work, right? So submitting a proposal to a project, remember that. So once that project work is complete, you're technically free. So you can have your timeline pre-point. So yeah. So there are some outreach people who are working for 4 months. There are some who are working for 3 months. There are some for 1 month. It all depends on the project completion.
Okay, so there is Ayan who is asking, I'm currently in my second year, just starting to contribute to open source and doing DSA and CP in parallel. Should I apply for summer internship or winter internship?
Ayan, I would recommend you go for summer internship because, as I said, that outreach is select on the basis of hemispheres. So right now is the time for people who are in India. So to apply for it right now. Also, you will have your summer break, right, in college. So that would really work out because they're not strict with the timelines. They're more focusing towards that you complete the work rather than having a 9 to 5 job.
Okay, so I can see one question from Mridul. I am a first year student at IEST and I have a good experience in Python and completed 2 projects with it. Should I apply?
Absolutely, Mridul, go for it. Go for it.
Okay.
Even I would recommend exploring the ML based repositories because we have seen a surge of them there, and I guess that really helps with the chances because Python really is in demand now.
Okay, so Sonak has asked, I don't have any prior knowledge on open source, similar to mentioned earlier. How can I prepare?
Okay, so the resources I would recommend is that prior to the outreach internship, I have been part of a normal internship with DTU, so they really helped me with the basics and all that. But if you're someone who is a complete beginner and do not have that time, so maybe you can watch YouTube tutorials, or you can have a look at the Hacktoberfest GitHub cheat sheet. That's like the real treasure of GitHub.
Okay, so I can also see a question from Sohadeep. Tell me about GDSC leadership role. I guess he knows that you are also a GDSC. You are a part of GDSC, so I guess he
Yeah.
wants to know a little bit about yourself. Although it's different from the session, but if you could just answer that as well.
Okay. I'm not really sure how to answer that, but I guess it's more of when you are a GDSC lead position, then you're just looking at different aspects and getting people to get the work done rather than doing it yourself. But also, um, as a GDSC lead, I'm not exactly the main GDSC lead. I am more of the GDSC lead of the open source domain there. So I looked at the Google Cloud thing, Google Cloud Study Jam, and now I'm overlooking the Snowscript Winter of Code at GDSC IDDTU. So it's more of the look at the people doing their work and just get them in line so that you tell them that this is what needs to be done and this is the area you're lacking at. So it's more of a management role rather than a tech role at this point.
Okay, so I can see one more question from Ridul. Is there any department eligibility for applying in Outreachy because I am from mechanical engineering?
Really, it is open to any college, any year, any stream thing. Even people who have graduated from college and are in school, even they can apply to these programs. So yeah.
Okay, so that ends the questions. So does anyone else has any more question? Then feel free to ask them. Nitya is more than willing to answer them all. Okay, so I guess no one has any more questions. So um,
Yeah.
okay. So that marks the end of our session today. Thank you, Nitya, for being here and guiding us through this amazing opportunity. We had a great time with you.
Thank you for having me, Shruti. It was wonderful.
Okay. So, guys, you can connect with Nitya on LinkedIn and ask her if you have any question in future as well.
Yeah, actually, I have even I would recommend going to my Twitter instead because I have my DMs open there and I am actively, reviewing applications as they come by. Yeah, Ayan, you can send me your application on Twitter. I'll just review it and send it back. Also, while you're if you plan on sending a Google Docs to me in my Twitter, do give me the reviewer role instead of the editing role because I would be more than happy to suggest recommendations rather than write your essay for your.
Okay. Okay, so it was an amazing session, Nitya. Thank you for taking up so much of your time for us. It was really a valuable session. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it a lot as much as we did. I'm sure you enjoyed it as well as much as we did. It's always a great thing to guide your juniors, and you are really doing a great job. So thank you for that.
Okay, can you share your Twitter? I'll just share my Twitter. Mm, Okay, okay, here's my Twitter.
Okay, so thank you, Nitya.
Thank you for having me, Somi. Thank you for Shivangi for reaching out. I know it was very short notice, but yeah.
Thank you for
Uh,
joining.
okay, I guess we have one more question here.
Okay.
And I don't have any experience in development, so I'm eligible for applying. Yeah, yes, Sanjay, you are eligible for applying. I would recommend doing a hands-on on GitHub and just go through the GitHub docs and go through a few tutorials on YouTube, and you would be more than prepared for that. Also, um, for a resource, I would suggest Free Code Camp because they have like amazing resource and content, so you can start your development journey as well with that.
Okay. The questions keep coming, I guess. They really like your session, I believe. Okay,
So
so
should we wrap up and do that?
Guys, you can ask questions directly to Nitya. I think we should wrap up the session now.
yeah, I was thinking the same. So thank you everyone for joining. It wouldn't have been possible without all of you. I know it's the weather is so chilly. It must have been tough to get up early and join the session. So thank you for that. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Have a great day as well.